I'm Shelly Turner with the Builderall team. In this video, we're going to learn how to do menus. Now there's three basic types of menus. There's the classic menu, the anchor menu, and a dripping menu. And we're going to work with all three in this video. To get started, let's find out where the menus are. So I'm going to click the plus sign, and I'm going to go to the menu item under all the apps, and I'm going to click that. And it's going to tell me all the different types of menus that I have. If I look over here to the right hand side, you'll see that I've got a classic category, an anchor menu category, and a menu dripping category. The first one is classic, and that is this area right here, all the different menu items that are classic menus. If I click anchor menu, you'll see that we have a different style of menu for anchors. And then if I click menu dripping, I even have a set of different styles for dripping menus. Let's go ahead and start with classic. So I'm going to click up here to classic, and I'm just going to choose this first one right here and just click it, and it's going to add an empty menu item onto my page. And I'm just going to close my window, and we'll pull that over here and put it under classic. Now it's showing an empty menu because it doesn't have the appearance set up and it doesn't have any type of configuration. So let's jump in first and do the configuration. And configuration is where we set up what items we're going to put into that menu. So I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go to Edit Menu Items. And when I do, I've got a new window here. This is a new menu setup, and this is where I can set up the items that I want in my menu. The first thing I need to do is click Add a Link, and from this area I can choose to add a page. I can add a link to a document. I can add an anchor point. We'll talk about anchor points in a minute. I can add a web address like google.com, or I can even add a link to a pop-up. Let's go ahead and choose a page, and then all I do is click where it says page and select. I click the word select, and I can choose any of the pages that I have set up in my website. So right now I'm on the home page, so I'm going to go ahead and choose a link to go on that menu for the home page, and then I'm going to click OK. And now I get to name it. And when you name this item, it really is dependent on whether you put capital letters or the first one capital and the rest lowercase, because this is how it's going to appear on your menu. So I'm going to go ahead and do all uppercase, and then I'm going to click confirm. And now you can see that I have my first item on here, which is the home page, which is what we're on right now. I'm going to add another one, so I'm going to click add link. And I'm going to add a page, and this time I'm going to choose page 2, and I'm going to click OK. And then right here I'm going to go ahead and leave it page 2, but I'm going to do it in all capitals, and then confirm. So now I've got my second menu item, and then I'm going to do one more add link and page, and I'm going to choose page 3 and OK. And remember, I'm going to capitalize it. And that creates consistency all through my menu. So I'm going to click confirm. And now I've got 3 items. Now if I want to change the order of those, I can click and drag, and I can change the order. For this particular menu, I want the order of home, and then page 2, and then page 3. Now if I want to edit the name of it, I just click that little pencil icon, and that changes the name of it. If I want to edit what page is actually linked to, I click that little square with the edit in there, and that will allow me to change what it links to. We also have a button that says My Pages. If I click that, it allows me to select any of the pages that are in my website. So that's just another way to choose them. If I choose, say this page right here, I'm going to check mark it, and then I'm going to click confirm. So now it gives the page name that I have listed on that page. If I click the little edit icon, I can change the name right here to make it a different name. You do have the choice of changing the name if you want to. And then the other option I have is to delete an item from a menu. So I can click the delete button, and it takes it off the menu. So now I've set it up the way I want to, and I'm going to go ahead and click confirm. And once I click confirm, you can see that it puts the names in there that I chose. So I've got home, page 2, and page 3. So now my menu is set up with the items that I want in there. Let's go ahead and right click again, and I'm going to go to edit menu items again. And let's go ahead and create one more item that goes to somewhere outside of our website. So I'm going to click Add a Link, and I'm going to go to Web Address. And for this one, I'm going to just send it to google.com. But when it goes to google.com, that's taken me off of my website. So instead of opening in the same tab, I can choose to open it in a new tab. And that means that my website will stay open, and it will open a new tab to go to google.com. So I'm going to choose Open a New Tab and then click OK. And then I have to rename the item. So let's go ahead and name it Google, and we'll capitalize it to make it consistent, and then click Confirm. And now I've got a new item that goes outside of my website, and when the user clicks it, my website will still stay open, and it will open a new window to open Google. So now I'm going to click Confirm, and you can see that I've got my Google item on there. So now I've actually created a menu. It's got 4 items: Home, Page 2, Page 3, and Google, which is outside of the website. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it look the way I want it to look. So I'm going to go to right click, and I'm going to go to Appearance. And I want you to notice that I've got several different styles here. I'm going to add a brand new style because I want this menu to be in my header. So I'm just going to go Add Style, and I'm going to call it my header menu. And then I'm going to click Confirm. And now I need to click right on it to get that check mark to go from here down to here. So I'm going to click on it. And if you'll notice, that changed the style of the menu, but that's okay because we're going to go in and change the style to what we want it to be. And to do that, I'm going to go to this little gear and click Edit Style. And now I can change the style to look however I want it to look. So I'm going to right click it again, go to Appearance, and then click that gear to start changing the style. Now there's lots of different options here. You can click any one of these, and if you'll click that little arrow, you've got even more options. Click the arrow, you've got more options. Click the arrow, you've got a few more options. I'm going to go all the way to the beginning, and I'm going to choose just a regular old text style. So I'm going to click the first one right here, and you'll see that it gave me a text style. And now I can go in and start changing it the way I want it to look. So first of all, I can change the font. So if I click that area, I've got the ability to choose my font style, to choose the size, and I can choose to left justify, center, right justify, bold, or italic. So I'm going to make my menu just a little bit bigger. We'll go to 25. That's pretty big. And then I'm going to go ahead and bold it to make those really bold. Now this is going to be my header menu, and it's going to go up here in the blue area. So it might be a good idea to make it white as well. So I'm going to kind of move it up there to get an idea of what it's going to look like once I choose it to be white. Move this over here to get it out of the way. Then I'm going to right click that and go to Appearance again, and I'll go to the gear again. So the next thing I'm going to do is menu spacing, and this is the horizontal spacing. I can reduce the spacing that we have or increase the spacing that we have. Then we've got vertical spacing, and that's if this menu was vertical instead of horizontal. We'll work on that in just a few minutes. I'll show you how to do that. And then we have item spacing. So I can actually make those items go a little bit further apart, or I can scrunch them closer together. The next area that I've got is sub-menu spacing. So if I created a sub-menu, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes, you can actually manage the horizontal and vertical spacing as well. The menu text color, that's what we talked about a few minutes ago. Here's the default color, which is looks like a dark blue. I'm going to change that to white. There we go. And the hover color, what does that look like when I'm hovering? So if I hover over it, it should be the color of blue, but I'm going to change that and change the hover color to red. And then selected means when I'm on the page that's on that menu, it's going to show a selected different color. So let's go ahead and change that to a bright yellow, and then OK. And so now I've made quite a few changes, and that is to the menu text color. Also, if there's a sub-menu, I could change the sub-menu text colors. Then I've got the menu background color. So right now this menu background is transparent, but if I go to Appearance and Edit and Menu Background Color and start changing colors, I can actually change the background of that menu. If I want to keep it transparent, I just click the trash can and trash can and trash can, and it will keep the default background color transparent, the hover background color transparent, and the selected color transparent. So that's the menu background. And then I also have the ability to work with the submenu background, and both of those I'll keep transparent. So that's how I can edit the settings or the appearance, the style of my menu. Once I've got all the colors I want, I just click OK, and then I can actually close this window and then close this window. So now I have this menu chosen. But what happens if I have another menu? I want to create a different menu, and I want it the same exact appearance, but I don't want to go through all those settings again. Well, that's the beauty of having that style. So let's go ahead and go to plus, and I'll go to menu, and I'll choose this menu. And then I'm going to go ahead and create some pages in there. So I'll go to edit menu items, and we'll go to add pages, and we'll do these pages right here and confirm. So now we've got those pages in there, and click confirm. Now I've got this new menu. I've created the configuration, but I want it to look exactly like this. So I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to go to appearance. And if you remember, we had that as the header menu. So I'm going to check mark this, and now it's got the exact style as this one right here. And if you'll notice, it's white. I can't see it, so I can put it down here and I'll actually be able to see it better. And it is the exact same style as the menu up here. Now I want you to notice something. If I change that style, it's going to change both menus. That's really important to remember. So let's go ahead and change the style. So I'm going to right click and go to appearance. There's my style. I'm going to go ahead and click the edit style button. And let's just change the font to a different size. So I'm going to click on font, and then I'm going to make it smaller. So I'm going to go down to 15. And if you'll notice, while I'm doing that, the top changes and the bottom changes because I'm changing the style. And both of these menus have the same style. So if I want to have a different style for this menu, I'd have to right click it and go to appearance and click a different style, and then work with that style to make it different than my header menu up here. So that's really important. Styles are set so that if you choose a specific style, it's going to change everything that is assigned that style. Now let's talk a little bit more about configuration. If I right click and go to edit menu items, I can actually save this configuration to be able to use later. I may want to create the same exact menu in a different layout. To save it, all I do is click Save, and then Save New Configuration, and I'm going to name it Shelly's Configuration. We'll call it Shelly's Config, and then I'm going to click Confirm, and then Confirm. And now this one has actually been saved. And I can create a new menu. So let's go ahead and delete this one. And I'm going to create a new menu, and we'll change it to this style. And I'm going to right click it and go to edit menu items. And remember, I configured it and called it Shelly's Config. So I'm just going to import, and there's Shelly's Config right there. I'm going to click right on it, and it pulls in everything just like this menu. And then I'm going to click confirm. Remember the appearance though, I didn't assign it the same appearance. So I'm going to right click it and go to appearance, and I can choose to make it the same as that menu or make it something different. So I've got two ways to set up a menu, and that is first the appearance style, and second is the configuration. And you can set it up so that you have a style that you can use again and again, and a configuration that you can use again and again. There is one difference though. When you use the style, if you change it in one place, it changes it in all of the places. When you use configuration, if you change it in one place, it does not affect it until you update configuration. So let me give you an example. If I right click this and go to edit menu items, And I'm going to add another link. So I'm going to click Add Link, Web Address, and for this one we'll go to HTTP, we'll go to Amazon.com. And we'll open it in a new tab and OK. And then for the description, we'll call it Amazon. So now we have a new item. And if I click Confirm, you'll see that Amazon's been added here, but it's not been added here. So what happens is when you create a configuration, and our configuration that we made was called Shelly's Config. So Shelly's Config does not have Amazon on it. But if I right click and I go to Edit Menu Items, and then I click Save, and then I choose Update. So this is Update, and now I'm going to update Shelly's Config. And then I'm going to click Confirm, and then Confirm. And now we've updated Shelly's Config. So I'm going to right click this one, Edit Menu Items, Import, Shelly's Config, and now it will grab that new item that I put on. So I have to purposely go in and change the configuration that I set up initially to be able to capture anything that's changed. And once I do that, I click Confirm, and now we have the Amazon on there. So it's a little bit different way to handle it. The styles automatically update. The configurations, you have to manually go in them and update them. So that is a classic menu. Now remember on these classic menus that you've got the ability to change the look of them quite drastically. So if I right click on here and I go to Appearance, I'm going to create a new appearance. So I'm going to click Add Style, and for this one I'm going to type Shelly's Style, and then I'll click Confirm. I've got my new style here. I'm going to check mark it to make it active, and then I'm going to go into Edit the Style. And here I can change it anywhere I want to. Let's go ahead and make it a box style. So now I've got boxes, and you'll also see that I've got a lot more on the appearance menu than I did before when I just chose a check mark. So I've got the font, menu spacing, submenu spacing, round borders. I've got shadow now, then menu text color, submenu text color, and then background color of the menu and the submenu. So now I've got a few more options than I did with just the regular text menu. And here I can start changing things to make it look very, very different. So let's go to menu spacing, and for item spacing I can actually choose to set these apart instead of having them close together, so they're actually they've got a little space in between them. And then for the rounded borders, I can actually round the top part but not the bottom part. So let's say I'll do a 20% and 20%, and now you can see that the top part is rounded but the bottom part is not. And if I right click here and go to Appearance and Edit again, and rounded borders, I can make it even more round, go 50%. And you can see that it's really round now. You can also add shadow here. So if you click Enable Shadow, that kind of changes that menu even more. And there's a lot more choices that you can make. Here's one that's a little bit different. So that's how to change the appearance of the menu to make it match the design of your website. And we're going to do one more thing. We're going to talk about submenus. So I'm going to right click on here and I'm going to go to Edit Menu, and now I'm going to create a submenu. But before I do, I'm going to add a separator. So I'm going to click here, and on this separator I'm just going to add this item. So I'm just going to call it Websites and click Confirm, and there it is, Websites. And I'm going to drag it up here, and then I've got Google and Amazon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Websites here, which is going to be not clickable. It's just a separator. And then I'm going to drag Google over and make it a submenu. And if you'll see, it's indented a little bit. And then Amazon, I'm going to do the same thing. So now we should see Home, Page 2, Page 3, Websites. And then if we hover over Websites, we should see Google and Amazon. So let's click Confirm. And you'll see that we've got our 4 items. And then on the live site, if we hovered over Websites, we would get the other 2. So let's check that out. Let's go ahead and click Save, and then Save again. And now let's take a look at the preview. And if we hover over, we've got Google and Amazon. Now remember that it looks very different and that's because we haven't configured that submenu item yet. Now I can also change this if I right click and I go to Appearance and Edit Items. I can actually change the style again, so we'll make it text, and we'll change the background color to no color, and we'll change the menu text color to black so I can see it. And if you'll notice, we've got home page, page 2, page 3, websites, and then if I go to the preview, when I do websites, I get the Google and Amazon again. So it takes a little bit of work to actually set this up to exactly the way you want it to look on your website. But remember that when you right click and you go to Edit Menu Items, you can actually create submenus. And then from there, you can have submenus again. So we can make Amazon a submenu of Google. And you can have 3 levels down. If I click Confirm and then go to Preview, I can see websites and then Google and then Amazon. So you can go 3 levels down in menus in the Pixel Perfect. So that's the classic menu. Now let's talk about anchor points, because this is a really interesting way to create a one-page website, is using anchor points. Or you can have multiple pages, and anchor points can go to different areas in different pages. So let's go ahead and create a few anchor points first. So I'm going to go to the plus sign, and then I'm going to go to Apps, and I'm going to go down to anchor points. So here's anchor point right here. I'm going to make a couple of them on this page, so I'm going to click it twice. 1, 2, and now I've got 2 anchor points. They're kind of stacked on top of each other. But let me go ahead and make this page a little bit longer, and we'll put 1 anchor point right here and then another anchor point lower down on the page. So now I get to name these anchor points. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to name this one Page 1 Anchor 1 and confirm. So Page 1 Anchor 1, and this one I'm going to right click it and I'm going to go to Edit, and this will be Page 1 Anchor 2. Fabulous. So now I have 2 anchors on this page, and I'm going to go ahead and click Save to make sure I get to save everything I've done so far. And now I'm going to go to a different page. I think I'll go to page 2, and I'll do a couple of anchor points there. So I'm on page 2 now, and let's go ahead and make this a little bit longer. We'll put a couple of anchor points on there, so plus and Apps, and 1, 2, and then I'll click and drag it down. Drag that one there and that one there. I'm going to right click and go to Edit, and this is Page 2 Anchor 1, and this one is Page 2 Anchor 2. Fabulous. So we now have 4 different anchor points, 2 of them on page 1 and 2 of them on page 2. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save and save again. And now I'm going to go ahead and go back to my home page. And the first thing I'm going to do is show you how you can add this to your regular menu. So let's say I want to add it to this menu right here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Edit Menu Items. And I'm going to go ahead and click Add a Link. And I can choose an anchor point. So I'm going to click Anchor, and it's going to show me all of my anchor points that I have. So on the home page, I have 2 anchors. On page 2, I have 2 anchors. So I'm going to go ahead and click one of them and click OK. And now I get to describe it. So I'm going to call this Anchor 1 and confirm. And now I've got Anchor 1 on there. I just click Confirm here, and it added it to the menu. Let me stretch that menu out a bit so we can see it. So there's our anchor point. I'm going to click Save and then Save again. And now let's go to the live one and see if that anchor works. So I'm going to preview, and I'm going to click Anchor, and you'll see it took me all the way down the page to where that anchor point was. So it's working wonderfully. So now let's go ahead and take a look at if we can add an anchor point from page 2. So let's right click and go to Edit Menu Items and add a link. And I'm going to choose Anchor again. This time I'm going to do it on page 2. So I'm going to click that one and click OK. And I'm going to name it Anchor 2 and confirm. And so now I have a second anchor on there, but it's actually going to a different page. So I'm going to click confirm. And let's stretch it out to make sure we can see all of it. And then I'll click preview. And now I'm going to click Anchor 2. And it took us to page 2, and it scrolled us all the way down just like it was supposed to. So I'm going to click return, and I'm going to go back to the home page. And that's how to use anchor points. So we've got an anchor point 1 and anchor point 2. Now there's going to be times when you actually want to use an official anchor menu. So this is just a regular menu that we've added anchor points to. Let's look at the anchor menu. So I'm going to go to plus, and I'm going to go to menu, and then right here I'm going to go to anchor menu. And you've got several different choices. I'm going to go ahead and just click the very first one, and then I'm going to close this window. So this is my anchor menu. It looks quite different from this one, and that's because this is a pre-made menu. If I right click it and I go to appearance, I've got a couple of different styles. And remember, if you use a style and you've got multiple anchor menus that use this style, if you make a change, it's going to change all of them. When I go to this anchor style, I just click edit. And here's where I can choose all the settings for each of these anchor menus. And I can change the font for this one, including the style of the font. I can make it bold, italic. I can change the color. I can change the icon color, and I can select the color for this little circle right here. I'm going to keep all of that the same. The next thing I'm going to do is right click and go to configuration. And here I can choose to align to the left, or I can choose to align to the right. So it really depends on where you want to put that menu as to where you want it to align. The next thing, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to edit anchor menu. And this is where it lists all of my anchors on this page. And I can check mark them to add them, and then I can uncheck the top page part to delete it. I can also choose to add an anchor, and that adds an anchor dynamically so that I can actually edit right on the fly. And I can choose to edit it to name it. So we'll call this Shelly's anchor and confirm. And now you see it's Shelly's anchor. And I'm going to go ahead and close this. So there's our anchor menu. And remember, there's lots of styles to choose from. So if you don't like the style that's showing, you can actually just change your style. There we go. There's a style right there. So now I can change the font color. You can change it to red. And the icon color is gray. Let's change it to green. And now when we go to preview, we can see our menu and what it looks like. And then I can return to edit, and I can move that menu wherever I want to. Anchor menus are great to use. I personally prefer to make anchor menus with a regular classic menu item. So these are great to have, but you don't have as much freedom to format them as you do a regular classic menu. But that is an anchor menu and how to set an anchor menu up. The next one is menu dripping. So let's go ahead and go to plus, and we'll go to menu, and I'm going to go ahead and choose menu dripping. And here's our menu dripping styles. And if you'll take a look, they look exactly like the classic styles. The only exception is now we're going to be able to drip the menu. So I'm going to go ahead and click the first one. And it comes in with a number 1, and I'm going to pull this down under menu dripping so we can take a look. And now we have the option to edit this to make a dripping menu. So what's a dripping menu? A dripping menu is when you create a menu and you allow that menu to drip items to the website visitor. So you may be doing a product launch and you want to launch over a series of 4 days. So the first 3 days, you're going to do videos to talk about your product. And then the 4th day, you're going to actually release your product for sale. So you can drip that information so they can't get it too quickly. So they get access to the first day right away. Then you drip the second video on the 2nd day. Then you drip the 3rd video on the 3rd day. And then the 4th day, you drip it so that they see the last video and they can purchase your product. So let's take a look at how we can set that up. So if I right click and I go to appearance, I can do exactly like I can do on all the other menus, where I can click Edit Style, and I can choose the style that I want to use for this menu. If I click Return, I can go back to all of the styles and choose a different one to apply. I'll just go ahead and keep that there. That's good enough. I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to go to Edit Dripping Menu. This allows me to edit the menu to make it drip exactly like how I want it to drip. Now there's a couple things right here that you need to understand. The first one is show remaining time in the publication. So what happens is if I check mark that, when they go to the live website, they'll actually see how much time remains before they can see that item. Usually I don't do that. I uncheck it because I explain that they'll get access to the other items on the day that it's released. The next one is show remaining time on preview. So if I go to the previewer, then I will see the remaining time on preview. The third one is show remaining time in the editor. So if I check mark that, it will show me the time that I have left while I'm editing. So let's go ahead and keep those both check marked, and we'll check those as we're building. So the first one is the item number 1, and it is automatically available. So we don't have a dripping time, it is automatically available. I have a little clock here. If you'll take a look where I'm pointing, if I click that clock, I can choose when I want it to actually be available. Now since this is the first item, obviously I'd want it available right away. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. But let's say we want page 2 available on the second day. So I'm going to drag page 2 in there, and I'm going to click the clock, and I'm going to set the time that it drips for 1 day. And then I'm going to apply it to the item. Now if I have any submenus on here, I can actually apply it to the children if I want to, and they'll all be available. But in this case I don't have any submenus, so I'm going to apply it to the item. So as you can see, I have 1 day and 0 hours and 0 minutes, and then this will be available. So if I pull in page 3 and I click the clock, I want this one available on the second day, and I'm going to apply it to the item. So now what's happening is they get number 1 right away, they get page 2 in 1 day, and page 3 in 2 days. And I'm going to click confirm. And if you'll notice on the editor, it tells me how much time I have left. So for this one, it tells me I have 1 day left. On this one, it has 2 days left until I can access. If I go to preview and take a look at it, it also gives me the time that I have left. Now I'm going to return to edit. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to edit dripping menu, and I'm going to uncheck show the preview. So I'm going to confirm. It still shows me in the editor. Let's go ahead and preview, and if you'll take a look, it does not show in the previewer. It shows me that day 1 is available, but it doesn't show me day 2 and 3. So I'm going to return to edit. So this is a great way to delay things from being available. So if you can imagine, if you've got a product you're trying to launch over several days and you don't want them to get the launch information too early, you can edit a dripping menu. If you have a membership area and you want to restrict them getting access to things unless they've been in for a certain number of days, then you can actually create a dripping menu. If you've got a course and you don't want them to work ahead in your course, you can create a dripping menu. And what this does is it drops a little cookie on their computer so that they are marked on day 1, and then depending on the date of that cookie, it will activate the subsequent menu items based on the days that you want them released. So that's how the menu dripping works. It's actually really cool. A couple of other things that I want to show you. Let's take a look at a classic menu. So if you want to change this from horizontal to vertical, you just right click it and go to align menu, and that changes it from horizontal to vertical. And then if you want to change it back, you can right click it and you can go to align menu again, and it will go to horizontal. Another neat thing that you can do is you can actually make a menu appear on all pages. The first way is to put your menu in the header. If you put your menu in the header, it will appear on every single page in that layout. So if you'll notice, I have this menu in the header of this page, And if I go to another page in this layout, so I'll go to page number 2, the same menu will appear on that page as well because it's located inside the header. If I go to page 3 in that layout, it's also on page 3. So that's a way to make sure that every page in your layout has that menu. There's another way to do it as well. So if I go back to my home page, and let's say I wanted another menu to appear, and I also want that menu on all pages, but I don't really have any more room for it in my header. If I right-click on that item and I choose Show on All Pages, that's the same thing as putting that item in the header. So I've already put this as Show on All Pages. So if I go to page 2, it should be on page 2. There it is. And if I go to page 3, it should be on page 3. There we go. So perfect. So the next thing I want to show you is understanding how to do navigation when you have multiple layouts. Because if we go into a different layout, so I'm going to go into layout 2, and let's take a look at that. If I go to my pages icon, I've got 2 layouts. If I go into layout 2 to page number 1, you'll see that there are no menus. And that's because I haven't put any menus at all in this layout. When you talk about a header and a footer, all headers and all footers will be the same for all pages in a layout. If you have a different layout, you have to build different menus and you have to build your headers and footers again. That's the beauty of the styles. I can now go into plus, I can go into menu, and I can create this menu. So I have an empty menu right here. I'm going to put it up here into my layout. I'm going to right click it and I'm going to go to appearance, and I'm going to choose the header menu, which is what we did in the other layout. Now I'm going to right click it again and go to edit menu, and I'm going to import Shelly's config and confirm. And now I've got the exact menu I had in the other layout, but I have it also in this layout. So now let's say that this is a menu that gets us into this layout. How do we get around this layout to be able to manage? So I can actually create a new menu, and let's make it like this. And we'll go ahead and do the appearance, and we'll add pages. So page 1, 2, and 3, and I'll put it in the right order. And so now I have a new menu created, and I'm going to click confirm. And I'm going to right click it and go to align, and we'll make it an up and down menu. And I'm just going to put it right there, and then I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to show on all pages. And now what I've done is I've created a menu that allows me to navigate inside of this layout, and it's going to show on every single page inside this layout. And then I have this menu that takes me out of this layout into the other layout. So this is navigation. It's very important to learn how to do, especially if you have multiple layouts. You need to really think about how you want your people to get from one layout to another and how they can navigate as easily as possible. So I'm going to go back to my first layout. And now we've talked about the classic menu, the anchor menu, and menu dripping. Another great feature that you have is when you're editing for tablet and mobile. Many times the menu is way too wide to be able to fit on either the tablet view or the mobile view. You can right click any menu and go to edit devices, and you have the ability to configure the menu for each different device. So for desktop, for tablet, and for mobile. So on desktop, I want to keep it long just like it is. But on tablet, I may want to enable a burger menu. And what a burger menu is it makes it smaller, so it looks kind of like this, and the user has to click on it to be able to get to the menu items. And you can choose for that burger menu to be normal, or you can choose for it to be expandable. If it's expandable, you have to dictate whether it expands to the right side, the left side, if it grows out, top full, whatever you want it to do. And then there's also a theme that you can choose as well. Same thing with mobile. You can enable the burger menu. The type, you can do expandable or Apple style, and then there's themes that go with it. So let's take a look at what this would look like if we made it a burger menu. So I'm going to right click it and I'm going to go to edit. And for the desktop, I'm going to enable the burger menu. And I'm just going to choose normal and then black transparent. But you can change the look of that burger menu. I can choose blue full background, so it could look like this, and then confirm. So this is what the burger menu would look like. I can make it a little bit smaller like this. And now I can actually go to preview. And when I click on it, it will pull that menu up for me. Because it's a burger menu, it has it all listed just exactly like the regular menu, but it puts it in burger form. I can also change any menu into a burger menu for tablet and mobile view as well. So that's a burger menu and how to set it up for your tablet or your mobile view so that it's a little bit easier for your visitors to be able to click that menu and not have a huge menu all the way across the screen that basically won't fit. So that's all that I wanted to show you in menus. Don't forget that you've got the classic menu style, the anchor menu style, and the menu dripping style. Remember that navigation is one of the most important things that you can do for your website visitor to make sure they can find everything that they need easily and quickly. So make sure you're looking at your menus carefully to set up navigation for your users and make it as easy as possible. I'll see you on the next video.